Island celebrates live music, dancing, and fun on the first Friday of every month from April through October, skipping July, with Sounds on Center. Season kicks off on April 4th. Info at ameliaisland.com/sounds. The North Florida TPO is committed to shaping our transportation future. We're focused on planning, funding, clean fuels, and new technologies for a vibrant, connected community. Learn more at northfloridatpo.com. Baptist Health is a proud supporter of First Coast Connect. Baptist Health, committed to building a healthier community for all of us. More info at 202-4YOU or baptistjax.com.
This is WJCT News 89.9 Jacksonville. Up next, national and local news from NPR and the WJCT News team.
Good morning, I'm Ann Schindler. On today's First Coast Connect, the history of the honey dripper. We tell you about Duval's signature frozen treat days before it becomes a temporary identity for the city's baseball team. Then, an Atlantic Beach couple wins landmark designation for their environmentally friendly lawn. And diving into summer with infant swim lessons. We talked to 2 certified trainers about why starting early can make for safer kids. Join the conversation. Give us a call at 904-549-2937. You can also email firstcoastconnect@wjct.org or tag us on social media. It's all ahead this hour.
Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. The House of Representatives has passed the controversial government budget bill. It squeaked by with just 1 vote. Writing online, President Trump cheered the vote and urged the Senate to pass it. House Speaker Mike Johnson is hopeful.
All the senators, every one of them have promised me they're not going to change anything in our bill. I was honored to be at the Senate Republican luncheon on Tuesday. And, I encourage them to remember that we have a very delicate equilibrium that we reached on here. A lot of work went into this to find exactly the right balance. And you all saw how perilous that was over the last week as it developed.
But several senators have already signaled reservations about key elements of the plan. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office projects this bill will add well over $3 trillion to the national deficit. Democrats point to another CBO report that says the bill will balloon the national debt so much that mandatory spending cuts will be required in Medicare. They say the Medicare cuts could total $500 billion. The Trump administration has accepted a gift from the Qatari government. The Boeing 747 luxury jet is worth several $100 million. NPR's Kat Lonsdorf reports an Air Force spokesperson says the aircraft will be upgraded for use as Air Force One.
The spokesperson told NPR that the Department of Defense had instructed the Air Force to, quote, award a contract to modify a Boeing 747 aircraft for an executive airlift, saying further details are classified. They spoke on the condition of anonymity as they weren't authorized to speak publicly. Trump has suggested the plane could be converted quickly for use as a new Air Force One, but experts say it will likely require significant upgrades to meet the high security and communications requirements, work that could take several years and cost anywhere from several $100 million to $1 billion. Kat Lonsdorf, NPR News, Washington.
Police in Washington, D.C. say 2 staff members from the Israeli embassy were shot and killed in the city last night. The Israeli government identified the staffers as Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram. A suspect is in custody. NPR's Becky Sullivan reports D.C. police say the suspect said, "Free, free Palestine," when he was arrested.
The shooting took place shortly after 9 o'clock as a museum event hosted by a pro-Israel advocacy group, the American Jewish Committee, was coming to a close. 2 people were killed, said Metropolitan Police Chief Pamela Smith.
The suspect was observed pacing back and forth outside of the museum. He approached a group of 4 people, produced a handgun, and opened fire, striking both of our decedents.
Police said they had tentatively identified the shooter as 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez of Chicago. It said he was not previously known to police. American and Israeli officials alike condemned the shooting. An FBI official said it would be investigated for ties to terrorism or as a hate crime. Becky Sullivan, NPR News, Washington.
You're listening to NPR News.
You're listening to WJCT News 89.9 in Jacksonville. Good morning. I'm Stephen Ponson. It's now 9:04. The Jacksonville Jazz Festival returns this weekend in a new spot and with a single stage. The free festival starts with the annual jazz piano competition tonight at 7 at the Florida Theater in downtown. Then it moves to tailgaters parking on Talleyrand Avenue over the weekend. Alex Austin is the head of the city's sports and entertainment division. He says major construction around previous downtown Jazz Fest sites made the venue change necessary.
We would prefer to have a home, right? So eventually when this downtown development kind of reaches zenith in a few years and we were able to have a dedicated spot for this, we envision going to one location, right? But for the time being, we have to be flexible, we have to be innovative, and we have to do what's in the best interest of the event.
Main performances start at 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, 3:30 on Saturday, and 3 o'clock on Sunday. Talleyrand Avenue is going to be closed today through noon on Monday, as are other roads nearby. Parking around the tailgaters lot can cost you $25 or more. For more information, you can go to jacksonvillejazzfest.com. We're going to stay mostly dry this afternoon here in Northeast Florida, and it's not going to be as hot. Highs will be in the mid-80s, closer to the beaches, and upper 80s inland. Overnight, we'll have lows dropping down into the 60s and lower 70s. And we stay dry tomorrow and tomorrow night, with highs climbing to the upper 80s to lower 90s for inland areas, mid to upper 80s along the coast.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the Kauffman Foundation, providing access to opportunities that help people achieve financial stability, upward mobility, and economic prosperity regardless of race, gender, or geography. Kauffman.org.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided in part by Baptist Health and North Florida TPO.
Good morning. I'm Ann Schindler, and this is First Coast Connect. Today, it's a summertime treat, a part of city history, and at least this weekend, it's the alter ego of Duval's baseball team. We dig into the legacy and lore of the legendary Honey Dripper ahead of this weekend's game. Later in the program, the natural appeal of a pesticide-free yard. But first, the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp take the field this weekend as the Honey Drippers, an homage to the sweet, ice-cold indulgence of the same name. Here to tell us all about it is Harold Craw. He's the Executive Vice President and General Manager for the Jumbo Shrimp. Welcome, Harold.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We are also joined by Alice Kimbrough, the entrepreneur and founder of the Honey Dripper House. Good morning, Alice.
Good morning.
And Bill Delaney, who, in addition to his role at City Hall, is a writer at Edible Northeast Florida and the Jaxson, of which he is also a co-founder. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Ann.
So, Alice, let's just start. What is a Honey Dripper?
Honey Dripper is a cup of goodness. It's frozen ice flavored with fruit and some other good stuff, eaten with a spoon. Later, when it becomes a slushy state, you can use a straw.
You actually need 2 utensils to consume a real Honey Dripper.
Unless you are a pro and you don't use either.
Oh,
Pros, they don't even use a spoon.
they
Flip it over and they take care of business.
Wow. And you brought one here. I'm going to hold it up for the folks that are watching online. So this is a strawberry?
No, that's fruit punch.
Fruit punch,
Yes.
Honey Dripper. And
No
that's
fruit, but it's great flavor.
Yeah. So there are a lot of flavors. You are making a lot of flavors in preparation for this weekend. First of all, just tell us some of them, because you have combos in addition to like a pina colada. There's all kinds.
So our flavors for this weekend will be pineapple, just mango, green apple, blueberry, pina colada, and fruit punch. My special flavors would be the strawberry mango lemonade and then the jumbo drip, which is a combination of fruit punch, pina colada, blueberry, and pineapple. But it's the color, so it's layered. It's frozen in layers to match the uniform.
Oh, man. And so the Jumbo Shrimp are putting on the uniform of the drip, and you are actually imitating the uniform of the team.
Yes, we have a Honey Dripper that will match the uniform.
A great circle of life. So, Bill, I want to ask you about Honey Drippers. How unique is this treat, like in the grand scheme of things, outside of its name?
So the treat isn't unique to Jacksonville. It's something that occurs all over the country and in other places as well. What is unique to Jacksonville is the name Honey Dripper. It's called all sorts of different and sometimes very crazy things every other city that you go to.
I mean, I think some people are familiar with things like a slushy or an icy or an Italian ice, but there are a variety of other kind of more localized names.
That's right, yeah. And the Honey Dripper specifically is very simple at its core. It's just a fruit punch or some kind of other beverage that you just freeze, like in the freezer in a cup, as compared to like an icy that, mixes in, like more slush to ice.
I see. So this is the beverage is frozen itself, and it is kind of frostier a little bit, Alice, and maybe sometimes sweeter than some of those others.
I think so, and then some people tell me the middle sometimes is just soft in the middle, so it's the outside, the core is frozen solid, and then the inside is soft
All
on the
right.
top.
And so I want to ask you, Hank, first of all, why pick this as the temporary team identity for the Jumbo Shrimp? How did this come about?
Yeah, I mean, the long and the short, we were walking through and thinking about what is our first, identity and how do we want to identify ourselves? Most importantly, how do we signal out, hey, we're Jacksonville? So that was the first thing. Ironically, myself, along with our vice president of marketing and media, No Blaha, happened to just be walking the stadium. And we continued to see this truck drive around our stadium. And so we began to talk talk about what is a honey dripper. Asked my high school daughter, "Hey, do you know what a honey dripper is?" She's like, "Yeah, Dad. Obviously, I know what it is. I'm from Tennessee, and in Tennessee, we call them a frozen. Same idea, same cup. When Alice, when you just said if you're a pro, that was me. Soften it up,
Okay.
pop it over, and go at it. Right. But I mean, ultimately, we thought about how do we say Jacksonville? How do we link with the community that is close to us? And it, I guess, magic just happened. We just happened to see the truck driving around. We started to do some talking and some work in there, and then the idea of how we can infuse fun into that kind of materialized itself into the Honey Drippers moniker, with obviously the unique logo that we were able to work with Grandiose on, and be able to bring that out. It just in the conversations with Alice, it's a little bit of magic, you know. When we went through our name change with Jumbo Shrimp, there's a little bit of magic there, and when it all comes together, it just actually made what has happened with this thing, this brand, this opportunity for us. And it's really special for us to be able to link with a business that's out east.
Well, I mean, obviously your baseball park is located on the east side or out east. Were you though like already planning to do an alternate identity? Was that something that the team had decided upon when this idea landed?
At some point, we were very strategic about when we wanted to do that because we feel like the Jumbo Shrimp brand has an opportunity to continue to grow, but we felt like this was the right time. But had it not been that right time, had we not seen the truck, had we not been having those conversations, I don't know that we really would have done this year.
Yeah. And so how did you learn about this, Alice, that you were sort of going to be the inspiration and then also the supplier for this event, and this ultimately 4 games, 2 weekends of games where they're taking on this alternate identity.
It was a simple email, and so this process has been pretty simple and smooth. And the organization, they are just great people. I got an email from Noah Blaha, and he basically said, "We want to do a salute to Honey Drippers this season. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And then it got wheels and took off from there. It was that simple.
And so was it the same artist, because the merchandise is really flashy, it is really colorful, it is really has got a lot of conversations going in the city. Is it the same artist that designed the shrimp logo, that designed the honey dripper logo?
You are correct.
And is that someone we know?
It's not. It's actually a company that we work with throughout time. And but a lot of the feedback and the changes and the things, so you get initial drawing, if you will, something that looks something, but we get to go through and say, change this. We like this better. This is more unique to Jacksonville, and so those conversations are ongoing. How does it look? Where is he holding the spoon for our Honey Dripper logo? Does it really need to look like a bat? And so we've done that with one or two other, not really alternate identities, just something to play off something that's happened in the community. But this one is, yeah, I mean, it really is about understanding what it is and what we wanted, which is fun. We also understand that bright colors resonate with with the young, with the old now as well.
Right.
But it was an opportunity to do that as well.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, we are talking to Alice Kimbrough, Bill Delaney, and Harold Craw about honey drippers, both the frozen treat and the team's alter ego, starting this weekend for the Jumbo Shrimp. If you are a fan of either version of the honey dripper, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call at 904-549-2937. You can email firstcoastconnect@wjct.org, or you can tag us on Facebook, Instagram, or X at FCC On Air. Bill, this is a name, as we said, that sort of is linked with Duval. This is a place that a lot of people say doesn't have like a culinary identity. I know that your magazine, Edible, has, looked at things like the camel rider, things like cherry limeade used to be kind of associated with the area. But where does the honey dripper fit in to that kind of culinary pantheon?
The honey dripper is like one of the very classic Jacksonville things, and I think that, like a lot of the other elements that are unique to Jacksonville, it's something that is, it's simple. It's a treat for kids or to have on the go. It's like a camel rider in that sense, which is, for those that don't know what that is, that's essentially just lunch meat in a pita. But it's something that you can get in every neighborhood in Jacksonville. It's not necessarily only found in Jacksonville, but this is where it started, and it's the only place that it is ubiquitous. And so the honey dripper is another, part of that, and it comes from the city's very strong and robust African-American heritage. It's something that is traditional in African-American neighborhoods. And the honey dripper, it's the name especially, because you go, other places, you get all sorts of other crazy names, to the point that, everybody in Jacksonville will know what a honey dripper is. You go outside of, the Duval County line, and everybody knows what the treat is, but they call it something totally different. Like it's a lily dilly in South Florida. It's a freeze cup in Michigan. It's a thrill in Savannah. A chili bear in Charleston.
That's correct. A scrape or a flip in Orlando.
That's right.
And some call it a cold cup.
Cold cup, frozen cup, icy cup.
Yeah.
Lily dilly in New Orleans.
Right. That's crazy.
But it's sort of like in Duval, kind of how people used to use the phrase jiffy feet. Like if you're not from here and you don't know what a jiffy store is, you just don't know what that reference is.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another case. A jiffy feet is essentially just that that tar black you get on the bottom of your feet from walking down to the Jiffy store, like a convenience store with bare feet. And that's a term that is unique here because Jacksonville used to have a very prominent chain called the Jiffy store, and that's still to this day. There's no more Jiffy stores, or there's not, a big chain of them. But people here still call a convenience store like that a Jiffy store, and Jiffy feet is what you get. But in other places, it's called different things. Kmart feet, convenience store feet.
Just being filthy.
Yeah.
All right. We've got a call from Alex in San Marco. Alex, go ahead.
I was going to share my honey dripper story. I remember when I was in the 7th grade, the lady across the street from the school we called her the honey dripper lady, and we would have to take a chance to run over there, get your honey dripper, and then get back to the bus without the bus leaving you. And there were so many people that there was a line. You had to wait. You couldn't just run over there and get it. So what we all did was one person would go and get a bunch and then bring them back. That way you didn't have to get a line. She would already have them boxed up for us, like 8 or 10, and you just run over there, one person. That way you didn't have a line.
That's a great story, Alex. The neighborhood element is such a piece of the lore of the honey dripper. I mean, I'll say when I first started reporting in this city, I'd never heard of a honey dripper, but when I was covering some school issues, I was, at a school pickup, and all these kids were walking around with these like colorful treats. I was like, what's everybody got? And that was the first time I'd heard of a honey dripper. But Alice, that is kind of part of it. This whole often made just by somebody in the neighborhood, sold after school, either by the bus stop or to kids who are walking home, just kind of on the sidewalk by someone in the neighborhood.
That is exactly what happened. I had a honey dripper lady, Miss Mary Jones, was my person. Mary Jones was my honey dripper lady. She lived a block away, so we could always go and get them. And so maybe in 2008, when I wanted to make extra money, I said I could make honey drippers. And we've been going ever since then. but I made it mobile. Instead of them coming to someone's house, I come to them.
You took it on
And
the
that's
road.
I took my show on the road, Ann.
And so you make them, you've got the Honey Dripper mobile truck,
Mhm.
but you go to a lot of places where people are. You go to weddings, you go to parties, you go to backyard barbecues, you go to events. How do you choose your route? How do you, select the area that you're going to be going to? And can people just kind of call and find you on a daily basis?
Yes, I just do events. And so on my website, honeydripperhouse.com, I have a contact page. They reach out to me there and I call and talk to them about the details and we go from there. But I only do events. I think a lot of times because I sell honey drippers and I also sell ice cream. When I'm going to events, people try to wave me down, but I'm going to an event. Sometimes I stop.
Oh, you drive
if ti-
by?
Well, sometimes
That's
if
cold.
it's time restraints, and it's time restraints. If I'm going to a party of 200, I'll tell them I'll come back. So that's how it happens. I just do events. People reach out to me or word of mouth or referrals.
Yeah. And Harold, you were kind of nodding your head about the neighborhood element. I'm curious, what stories you've started to hear. Alex called in with his story. Have you been hearing a lot of people reminisce, about the treat, the nostalgia that it surrounds it?
Yeah, I guess when I think about it, when we dropped in February, it went crazy. Our the social media, hearing the terms like, "Oh, you guys finally got it. Oh, you finally get us. Oh, I remember those days when we had those treats." I mean, that's really something that we hoped would happen, right? We are a minor league team. We are defined by our community. And so the opportunity to do something that resonates within the community has been a big thing as well. So I'm interested to see, because we're gathering space. I'm interested to see uh, the parents or adults with their kids this weekend that are sitting down together to have a treat while engaging in some family time. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what we're about. And so for some, I'm sure it's an opportunity to spend a little bit of time with their family, having a treat that's unique to Jacksonville, and bring some of those memories as well.
And
But it's been great.
how have the merchandise sales been? I know that they've resonated well in my own household, and I've been hearing a lot about it from people who are eager to get there.
Hard to keep up.
Yeah.
When we did this, the idea was around doing something that sung our community, right? And so we prepared as best we could. Same thing when we were changed our name to the Jumbo Shrimp. We prepared as best we could, and it's been crazy ever since. Just trying to keep up. So it's been a great thing. It's been so enjoyable to see people walk around with the colors on. I mean, pretty purposeful in the color. So when you see it coming or going, you're like, "Oh, that's a Honey Drippers shirt," or "Oh, that's a hat." And so it's been great.
Bill, I want to ask you because while the treat is identified with Duval, the name has been used in other settings. I think of, there was a band that Robert Plant started called the Honey Drippers several years ago, a couple decades ago now, I guess. There was a bar in Fernandina Beach or in Amelia Island called the Honey. There was like a package store there for a number of years. As far as you know, is there any connection to the Duval Honey Dripper in those other monikers?
No, it's kind of a common name. Also in the 1940s, there was a R&B song, like a instrumental song called the Honey Dripper, and it's been kind of a common name. There's like a couple of different senses of it. There's one that I think is probably the most like why in Jacksonville this treat is called a Honey Dripper is the actual Honey Dripper utensil, which is like a little stick that has what looks like kind of a beehive on the end that you can use to dip into honey and then drizzle it on your biscuits or whatever. And that's kind of similar to the way that around, especially the edges of the Honey Dripper treat, that it kind of drips down slowly like that.
And this is going to, I guess, reinforce its reputation in Duval and kind of build on it. I mean, it has always been this, if you know kind of thing, but now it really is going to be almost like a branded representation of Duval.
I mean, it's very similar to the Duval chant was one of those things that that started in the Black community as just kind of a substitution for the name Jacksonville. And before too long, it was something everybody was shouting at concerts and stuff. And then after that, the Jaguars adopted it, and now it is, one of the most famous things about Jacksonville. I think this is going in the same way, and it's one of those things. It came from the neighborhoods,
Yeah.
and then folks like Honey Dripper House started taking it out to beyond. Like I haven't seen this same treat getting its own trucks in other cities before. Like I think that is definitely an innovation and again a classical Jacksonville thing that you take something and you bring it out to the masses. And now just because the Jumbo Shrimp happened to see you driving by out there taking advantage of it, is bringing it to a whole other level, and I'm happy to see it.
Thank you very much.
How has it been for business? Have you noticed an uptick in interest in people calling and making reservations? Do you expect now that there is actually clothing that sort of emulates your own, business, that will be a boon for you?
The exposure has been unmatched since the 19th of February. Just about almost every day someone reaches out. I have to turn people down because I only have one truck. I'm only one person. But it is, I can't even begin to thank them enough. Like the business, has it boomed? Yes. Are we working overtime plus overtime, then some more overtime? Yes, just to keep up with the demand. Not even just this weekend, just the regular events that I do. And they've had a part in it. And I like the fact that you said that it's well known in the African American neighborhoods, because we want to transform it to the whole city. And so many people, other nationalities have tasted it, and one guy tasted it and he was like, this tastes like a cup of heaven. He had never had it. He's been in Jacksonville his whole entire life, maybe 60 years old. And I like the fact that doing this journey since February 19th, that's what I've been coming in contact with, people that have never had it and absolutely love it. And then they reach out to my website and they call me back for events, either for their jobs. I've been in rooms that I have never been in before with Honey Drippers. I've never been to NAS Jacks. And I live here all of my life, just 27 years, all of my life. But now they've called me back. Within a couple of weeks, I'll be going back. And then other opportunities I've received, I think I probably would have not received had I not started this collaboration with the Jumbo Shrimp for the opportunity on this weekend. So I am more than grateful for this opportunity.
So you talk about busy, but let's talk about this weekend busy. How are you preparing?
We started about 3 weeks ago. The Jumbo Shrimp had a large order, so we made certain we got their order about a couple weeks ago, and then we've just been building and storing to prepare for this weekend, because they go a whole lot faster than we make them. So we know we may have 100, and that can be gone in 30 minutes, if not less. And so we've just been preparing to make certain that I fulfill the request of one gentleman that made a comment on February 19th that I don't run out. And so that's our tier goal, not to run out.
He said, you better not.
That's what he said. I want him to come see me, sir. Come see me, because I want to make sure you're going to get yours for free. Any flavor.
So they are going to sell well. Can you give us some idea how many you've had to prepare?
Thousands. The Jumbo Shrimp have already gotten 1,000. And if they've gotten 1,000, I'm probably approaching, I know I've made over 2,000. And so we still have about, what is the day? Thursday? We have about 2 to 3 more days where we can add more. My team is amazing. I am so grateful for my team. We can get them going, get them in the freezers to get them frozen, and then to start again.
And I'm guessing, Harold, it's going to be hot this weekend.
Very warm this weekend. We're excited about both days. We start one of our weekends of boom, so we have fireworks Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. And so that's just another exciting reason to come out along with the Honey Drippers.
I'm guessing the pace will be even more brisk of sales, just because it's going to be, in the 90s, right?
Yeah, when it gets warm, the cold treats definitely are the most popular.
Yeah. And so, I know, Alice, that you started this as kind of a side hustle.
Mhm.
You have taught in Duval County schools, or you worked in Duval County schools. I'm not sure what capacity, but for like decades.
I still work.
You still do?
Yes, I'm a dean at a high school. I've been with Duval County 29 years now.
Okay. And so I just am wondering, at what point this overtakes your real life and your real job.
I have some people, some good friends at Florida Avenue Main Street, Travis Williams and that crew. They've been asking me that same question for maybe the last 5 years. And so I'll just see how this goes and what my body says, and then, I'll make decisions from there.
Okay, so still up in the air.
Still up in the air, Travis.
Travis, if you're listening. You recently, though, got a good humor grant to kind of do some improvements. Tell us about that. How did you win that?
It was just you go online and apply. I applied, and then I passed the first round, and we got I think $1,000, and then we were in the running for 20,000, but we didn't get that. But I was grateful for the 5,000 we got, which I did some repairs on the truck. Also grateful for a grant from Lift Jacks that gave me the new wrap on my truck, which is even bright. Like Harold was saying, bright colors is going to bring attention, just no matter what, and it's been a positive thing. And so that was helpful in that manner to get the truck in better repair so we can stay on the road.
Yeah. Harold, for the game itself, is there going to be like a dripper mascot, or is it going to be the shrimp as we know him?
No formal mascot, but our mascots, both Scampy and Southpaw, will be dripped out as well. So I think folks that come to the game will be excited. I mean, it's a full takeover, right? So what's on the video board, what's on your ribbon board, it's how we operate. I mean, it's a full takeover. So it's truly an identity change.
And did the whole the drip element figure into your decision to choose the Honey Dripper as a logo, or is that just sort of a happy accident?
It just happened.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, very much a happy accident for us as well. But yeah, I mean, it's been phenomenal. I just think it's exciting. Some of the other things that we've done for other communities that we're not out loud about. This was an opportunity to be, out loud about it. And so I'm excited, really excited for this weekend. Our whole staff is excited for this weekend.
Everyone is excited. But I do want to say, Ann, that I run into so many people that I do not know. And they'll say, "Are you the Jumbo Shrimp lady? Are you the lady I saw on the news?" And they've bought merch. Like, I don't even know people. And I just do want to say thank you to all the people that I don't know. Hopefully I can see you this weekend. And just to say thank you. I mean, they were like, "I bought 2 shirts already." Like you said, you and your husband. "Oh, I bought a hat." And she said, "My husband, he's already wearing the hat." Just that kind of excitement just makes this whole weekend even like 5 times, 10 times better, because something that's going to excite the community to come out to a baseball game, get a Honey Dripper. We also have the Jazz Fest this weekend. So it's going to be terribly busy, but to be in the running with the busyness, that's a blessing in itself.
Yeah. We are talking about the history, the lore of the Honey Dripper ahead of the game changing identity this weekend for the Jumbo Shrimp. We've got an email from Michael. He says, "Growing up in the early 90s, I spent a lot of summers at my grandma's house on Benedict Road off Avenue B. I vividly remember her giving me and my cousin 50 cents each to go buy Honey Drippers from the Honey Dripper lady. She sold them from her home a few blocks away. Great memories." We also have a call from Tim in Orange Park. Good morning, Tim. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. I was just wondering because I have a Hawaiian icy trailer myself, and mine are kind of like a snowball as opposed to like a harder ice type thing. But I get all my flavors commercially, and I was just wondering if the young lady makes her own flavors. And I'm glad to hear that you're going to be out there Friday and Saturday, because I'll be at the Jazz Festival, and I am most definitely going to come by Friday night and try one of your products. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you for that. Now, what I do is I take a lot of products and I mix them together. So it's my own recipe, yes. So I just take flavoring, I take fruit juice, I add different fruits, and then I make my concoctions that way.
Secret recipe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a secret. Oh, most definitely, Ann. It's top secret. Right now, I mean, the Jumbo Shrimp, I got it locked up. It's in the safe.
Yeah. With all the frozen thousands of Honey Drippers. I was curious, just are the players going to be able to keep those uniforms when they're done?
We're actually auctioning them off throughout the year. Well, they won't go out until after the second time that we have the night here as well. So, yeah. But, I mean, from a standpoint of folks, I mean, my phone was blowing up just, "Hey, can you please tell me when the uniform's in the store? Hey, can you please tell me?" I mean, that was a win for us. Like, I didn't foresee people really wanting to don the uniform, more so just wear a hat or a T-shirt and things like that. But So yeah, I mean it's a big deal for us. So I mean that's why we brought the uniforms in so everybody can have a little piece of drip.
Right, right. And you are giving away some drip on Saturday for the first of the 2 games in this first set of home games.
Yes. So long sleeve T-shirt, hooded T-shirt. It's really cool, super colorful. So I think that'll go fast as
Free
well.
for the first.
Free for the first 2,000 fans that'll come through the gate. So hopefully it'll last for us. But I'm sure with the excitement that'll go pretty fast. But as we've been telling folks, come get some drip.
Yeah. Bill, Delaney, are your thoughts that this is going to be kind of a seminal moment for this particular piece of culinary legacy in Jacksonville?
I think definitely. I think people out there, much more so the last, 10 or 20 years, more than any time in the past, people are hungry for local things, local identity, yeah, just straight Jacksonville stuff. And I think this is going to be one of them. I think this is going to be a moment like the Jaguars adopting the Duval chant for honey drippers. I think we're going to see it blow up. A lot of people know what it is now. Everybody's going to know after this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill.
Well, congrats, Alice, on
you so
the
much.
business and the busy weekend ahead. I hope you get some rest after it's all done.
Yes, I'll rest next week.
All right. Next week, Alice Kimbrough, Harold Craw, Bill Delaney, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, how an Atlantic Beach couple transformed their lawn into a bustling wildlife habitat. Welcome back. From an ordinary stretch of lawn to a native plant sanctuary, my next guest has won accolades for transforming her suburban yard. Here to tell me about it and why she did it is Amy Franqui. She is a master gardener and volunteer with the University of Florida's Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences Extension Office here in Duval County. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, Ann. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So first of all, congratulations. You were just named Residential Conservation Champ of the Year by the City of Atlantic Beach's Environmental Stewardship Committee. Tell us about this recent recognition.
Sure. Yeah, it's truly an honor to be recognized, of course. It certainly wasn't something that we were seeking in our transformation efforts, but it always feels good to be recognized for something that you're truly passionate about. So this was an award that our local City of Atlantic Beach Environmental Stewardship Committee put on this ESC Awards for the first time. It was their inaugural event. So we were just one of the many winners representing the city, and really happy to represent.
So explain to us what exactly you did to transform your lawn. What did you start with and what has it become?
Sure. Well, just to back up, what really started all of this for us is a desire to see more birds and more butterflies in our yard. And so I stumbled across this book by Douglas Ptolemy. It's called Bringing Nature Home. And that is really what set everything into motion for us. There's a quote from Douglas Ptolemy that said, "A plant that has fed nothing has not done its job." And that really made me reflect upon, well, geez, what do birds actually eat? So if you have any guesses as to what birds eat, I could.
Well, bugs.
Certainly.
Bird seed.
That's right. Seeds, nuts, berries, fruits, insects, nectar from flowers. So when I thought about myself as a bird flying over my yard and I looked down upon it, what would I find to eat there? And I looked out and saw just a St. Augustine grass, which doesn't provide any nuts or seeds or berries or fruits or nectar. There's no flowers. It also didn't have any insects because at the time we were applying a pesticide treatment service. So that was really eye-opening for me, and it's really what started the whole process for us. So we endeavored to remove about 90% of our lawn area and replace it with Florida native plants. And that's a combination of native trees, native shrubs, native wildflowers, and ground covers. It really was a dramatic change, and it brings us a lot of joy because we now can look out and see a lot more movement, a lot more life in our yard.
Was it the kind of thing that you approached and said, we should sort of make this change over time? Or did you go out and just kind of wholesale tear up the lawn, come up with a plan to replant everything and do it just in one fell swoop?
Well, we did start in kind of small pieces ourselves and then did seek some help from a local native landscaper to assist us in kind of getting a bigger plan together so that we could be really intentional. And we wanted it to be successful. If we were going to dedicate the time and the money to make the transformation, we wanted it to last. So it was something that we did take a broader brush approach to, but have also over time added to it, what we started.
Yeah. And so for people who are watching our online stream, we are showing some pictures of the before and after of your yard. But for people who can't see it, can you sort of describe what the after looks like?
Sure. So we did try to be very intentional. If you were looking at our yard from the street, we did leave a strip of grass in the front because we wanted people to know this was an intentional choice we were trying to make. We still want it to look very kempt and inviting. But what you would see beyond the grass is layers of habitat, shrubs with flowers and berries that provide, source of food for birds. You'll see butterflies hovering over. We've made a little, almost like our own little mini nature walk around the front yard, kind of a pathway that goes around in a circle. So when we're on our lunch breaks from work, we can walk outside and just take our own little nature walk around.
And so there is some expense associated with these kinds of, changes. Has there been any overall financial benefit with the changes that you've made?
Certainly. I mean, the obvious things are we did discontinue our pesticide service. So that was an $80 or $90 a month expense we no longer have. We no longer were applying any fertilizer to the yard that we were previously doing with the lawn just to keep it looking green and so we could water it and then cut it, the cycle. But the most dramatic change that we saw was actually to our water bill. That was cut in half. After the plants got established, we were able to completely turn off our irrigation system. We did that about 2 years ago. And right now, if you looked at our water bill, I actually have one in front of me to kind of show you an example of it. But you can see the dramatic shift in downward. We were using 16,000 gallons of water a month. And after our transformation, we use 2,000 to 3,000 gallons a month, which is still lower than the average for the city of Atlantic Beach, I think, which is about 5,000. So,
I mean, you see it reported that, in the nation that about a third of, potable treated water is put on lawns, used to water lawns essentially. But in Florida, it's about half. And so I would guess that your usage decline is in keeping with that.
absolutely. I mean, it's dramatic going from 16,000 to 3,000 a
It's
month.
amazing.
Definitely.
And so, some people live in communities where they are, constrained somewhat by their HOA or just sort of, neighborhood norms, and they feel compelled to have a more traditional lawn. What kind of response have you gotten from neighbors? And how do you think, that kind of lawn that you've created, is it adaptable to a more restrictive environment?
Yes, I'd say our neighbors have been very welcoming. I'd say our direct next door neighbors also decided to transform their yard as well and took a similar approach in their front yard. So that was, of course, inspiring to see. And I have invited our neighbors over for talks, entice them over with a little happy hour, but then listen to me give you a presentation about native plants and show you around the yard. So those kinds of things can certainly have an impact in just showing people what's possible. But I would say for others that are more restrictive, I would definitely encourage it. I think it really just comes with a mindset change about how we view our yards as being something that gives versus kind of takes. Um, but I do think, anyone could have an impact. You could start small, even just with a container in a pot. You could have a pollinator pot, for example.
And so I mentioned that you won the Atlantic Beach Environmental Stewardship Committee Award, but you did also win recognition from the University of Florida's Florida Friendly Landscaping Program. And that's something that awards people in tiers.
That's right.
Silver, gold, and natural. And you actually won the highest level, which is natural.
We did. Yeah. Uh, the recognition for natural is new. It's something that they added as of 2024. So super proud to be the first residential property in Duval County to have received that award. There's also an area in Native Park 1 and 2 that is maintained by our local Florida Native Plant Society chapter, the Ixia chapter. They also received it for...
Where is that?
It's in the Riverside, Avondale area.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend anyone checking it out. It's a great place to see a kind of a demonstration garden of native plants. They also host an annual native plant sale there in the April timeframe, which was just passed. But yeah, the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program is something that's really there to help guide homeowners to kind of understand these Florida friendly principles at home. So our Master Gardener volunteers, you can sign up to have them come out and give you a free yard review. And they'll look around your yard and they have a checklist that they follow that has different Florida friendly principles like, are you planting the right plants in the right place? How are you watering efficiently? Are you fertilizing appropriately? How are you using mulch? Those kinds of things. And as a result of the review, they'll actually give you a recommendation of, here are maybe some enhancements or modifications you could consider in your yard. And if you qualify, you could be recognized by one of those silver, gold, or natural levels and have a sign to put out in your yard and show your neighbors how awesome you are.
And so that is something that a volunteer master gardener can do for you for free. You also do that work as a volunteer master gardener. Did that come kind of before or after this experiment with your yard?
It kind of happened around the same time. So I went through my Master Gardener volunteer training in the fall of 2021. And that is right around the same time I read this Douglas Ptolemy book. So this kind of happened in tandem, just kind of worked together in a way. But I didn't actually have the yard review team come out until last year when they notified me that this new natural level existed and thought I'd make a great candidate.
And so in winning that recognition that you did, is there some sort of pledge or requirement that comes with it in terms of the amount of water you use, whether you're using pesticides?
Yeah, for the natural level specifically, I believe the checklist states that the landscape is not regularly watered from any source once established.
Okay.
And no supplemental treatments are added to the landscape in terms of fertilizing, except for maybe compost amendments, for example. But yeah, there are some, specific expectations that you would maintain.
So with that knowledge that you have and that training, and if somebody is interested in sort of undertaking this, what is the first thing that you think they ought to do? Should they pick up that book and get inspired, or should they call a master gardener?
Oh man, I mean, I would say a combination of things for sure, because I think people learn differently or can be inspired differently too. But I'd say any Douglas Ptolemy book, I would highly recommend, but this one, Bringing Nature Home specifically, is the one I started with, and that really is what just compelled me to action. But our Master Gardener volunteers are there to help too, and these are people that are passionate about gardening, yard-related topics. We want to grow your own food more than just, landscaping and those kinds of things. We want to help people learn, and so If you have interest in having them come out to your yard, I would absolutely recommend. That'd be a really great jumping off point.
Yeah, and I guess for those of us that don't necessarily have a green thumb, I mean, this is doesn't maybe requires less of one because you are going to be growing things that are native and survive well here.
That's right. I mean, I'm a Florida native myself, so the easiest way I'd kind of describe a native plant is a plant that grew up here in Florida. It's acclimated to our weather, our climate, and it doesn't have a lot of needs as long as you're planting it in the right place.
Well, Amy Franqui, congrats. Thanks so much for being here, and we appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Up next, turning kids into confident swimmers before their first birthday. We'll be right back.
Tidbits, family owned and operated since 1985, offers dine-in, catering, delivery, and takeout at Bay Meadows, Hendricks, and Mandarin locations. Menu items include fresh sandwiches, salads, and soups, open Monday through Saturday. Online ordering and menu at clarastidbits.com. Museum of Science and History's new exhibition, Mosh Archives, The Story of Us and You, steps you into a treasure trove of memories. Open Saturday through August 31st. Tickets and information at themosh.org.
Hannah Arendt is one of the most influential political writers of the 20th century. Join WJCT President and CEO David McGowan for a screening of clips from the new documentary about her life, Hannah Arendt Facing Tyranny, and a conversation with the documentary's executive producer, Jeff Bieber, on Wednesday, May 28th at 7 p.m. at WJCT Studios. For more information and to reserve your seats, visit wjct.org/events.
El Salvador was once the murder capital of the world. Now, under President Nayib Bukele, it's safer than Canada. Why? 1 in every 57 Salvadorans is locked up.
The homicides have reduced and the extortion have reduced, and it's true, and a lot of people benefited from that. But the cost of that was and is the democracy of the country.
Life in El Salvador under Bukele's iron fist. That's on the next On Point.
Today at 11 on WJCT News 89.9.
The Trump administration has cut over $1 billion from USDA funding that goes to food banks, schools, and farms. The effects are now being felt across the country at the same time as SNAP benefits might hit the chopping block. The local communities being hit by food funding cuts. Next time on 1A.
Today, starting at 10 on WJCT News 89.9.
Welcome back. Well, a lot of parents don't think about signing their children up for swim lessons until they're 4 or 5. But the fact is that the biggest cause of accidental death for children under 4 is drowning. Here to tell us about a program that aims to get an early start in the water are Michelle Smith and Paige Holt. They're both certified infant swimming resource instructors here in Jacksonville. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
So what is it that prompted you to begin teaching infant swimming?
Well, I put both of my kids through ISR, and watching them progress in their lessons was amazing. And I just watched in amazement every lesson. And I thought, if I ever had a backyard pool, I would love to do this. And when we bought our house and it had a backyard pool, I called my kids' instructor and said, how do I do this?
Wow. And so you were a parent watching this go on. How was it for you as a parent first experiencing that?
It was exciting for me, honestly. My kids both cried every single lesson. And kids do cry in lessons sometimes because it's unfamiliar to them. But watching their progress and then being able to take them to our community pool and let them swim and watch other people's reactions, I mean, to me, it was just exciting. I ignored the crying. The crying didn't bother me because I knew how much fun they were having on the weekends when I would take them to the pool.
How long does it take for them to progress to a point where, I mean, because I was watching the videos last night where the kids are, plopped into the pool, they kind of go into the surface, they eventually flip around and come up face up and they float. But I would imagine that is not the first thing that happens.
No. So for children 6 months to about a year, we just teach them to roll over and float. And that's about a 4-week
process every day, 10 minutes a day.
10 minutes a day. And so why is the time of the lesson so constrained?
Well, number one, we want to make sure that short lessons make sure that the child isn't ingesting water or too much water. As instructors, we have an interview. We call it a BUDS interview with the parents every day, checking on things like bowel, urine, diet, sleep, to make sure if there's something we can't see in the water that it would show up with the parents. It also keeps us from having physical fatigue or temperature fatigue.
Yeah.
And those are things the instructors are trained to look for.
And so parents that come to this programming, are they prepared sort of psychologically, emotionally for what it's going to look like to have their kid, placed in a position where they'll be partly underwater?
I try to prepare all of my parents in advance, and I ask them to have encouraging faces and smiles on the pool deck. And if they can't do that, they are welcome to hand me their child and walk away. And I try to set up my iPad to take video for them so they can see, what's happening in the lesson, and send it to them. So yes, I definitely try to prepare them in advance.
How do you do that? How do you prepare them? What do you tell them to expect, and how do you tell them to sort of keep a strong face?
Well, I tell them that I'm always going to focus on the positive. So I'm always going to give the parents something positive to go home and talk about lessons, whether it's, wow, did you see the way he held his breath and opened his eyes underwater? Wow, did you see the way he reached up and grabbed the wall so strong? Wow, did you see the way he rolled over and took a great breath on his back? Yeah, he may have been crying and screaming the entire time. And I really try to encourage my parents to not talk about the crying and the screaming and focus on that positive, what they learned that day, so that that child can internalize it. Because even if they're not talking, they're internalizing. And if they go home and hear, yeah, she screamed the entire lesson, that child's going to say, I sure did. I'm going to do it again tomorrow. But if they hear, wow, Miss Michelle said she came up and she took a good breath, and Miss Michelle said this, and Miss Michelle said that, they're going to internalize that and hopefully come back with that attitude the next day.
And Paige, how sticky are these lessons for kids? I mean, if they're learning very, very young like this, do those lessons stay within them? Is it a skill that once they learn, or do they have to keep coming back at it?
Absolutely. So they learn by sensory motor, which is kind of like what we do with riding a bike or roller skating. And so they never lose the skill they learned, but as children grow, they get longer legs, longer arms, their body composition changes. And so they need a refresher lesson just to kind of get used to their new body, a new type. Also, developmentally, they're more capable to do more skills, just like an infant learns to crawl, then learns to walk, and then they learn to jump and run and do things. The children, the older they get, the more they're capable of doing.
And obviously you're doing this so children are safe when they're in water or near water, but is it a skill that is applicable to adults as well? I mean, a lot of adults don't know how to swim. Is it the kind of thing that they also can learn?
They can. I've actually taught a grandmother who brought her grandchild to lessons, and it's definitely more challenging because they, we always talk about kids don't really have the fear of the water because they really don't understand what's going on. They may feel uncomfortable, and that's why they're crying. But adults truly have the fear. So getting past that for the adults is the tough part. But yeah, anybody can learn how to do it.
Just briefly, Paige, if people want information, where can they get it?
At infantswim.com.
All right. Paige Holt, Michelle Smith, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you for listening. Join us tomorrow when we discuss all the week's headlines, from a backlash over a conservation land grab to the latest on the devastating air.
Act is provided by Baptist Health and the North Florida TPO.
Baptist Health is a proud supporter of First Coast Connect. Baptist Health, committed to building a healthier community for all of us. More info at 202-4YOU or baptistjax.com. The North Florida TPO is dedicated to transportation planning, funding, clean fuels, and new technologies for a vibrant, resilient, and connected region. More information available at northfloridatpo.com. Museum of Science and History's new exhibition, Mosh Archives, The Story of Us and You, steps you into a treasure trove of memories. Open Saturday through August 31st. Tickets and information at themosh.org.
This is WJCT News 89.9 Jacksonville. Up next, national and local news from NPR